Hi, I'm Kent. In this video, I'm going to try out using paper stencils. In some previous videos, I've tried some different approaches to getting patterns into my pots. In particular, I've used some tape to get a resist. I've tried this with watered down slip, and I've tried this with glaze as well. I was looking around at different techniques, and I found another one that I wanted to try. In particular, it's using paper. I went online and I found some interesting geometric patterns, and I used an X-Acto blade to cut them out. So I have a pot here that's not fully dry, and the idea is to apply the paper to the pot temporarily, apply slip over the surface of the pot, and once the slip dries, you peel off the paper. The shape covered up by the paper will then be the base color, in this case white, and the rest of the pot will be the color of the slip that I have applied. I think I'm going to use black. So I cut out a bunch of pieces of paper. I think I have enough. Let me go ahead and apply these. I think the idea is to get the paper a little bit damp and it will stick to the pot. So I've got a damp sponge here. Let's see if I can just sponge it on. This is just a random geometric pattern, so I'm just going to apply a bunch to the pot. All right, I've got those all stuck on. I just use water to saturate the paper and get it stuck to the pot. I'm going to go around and get it damp again. I've seen people use newsprint before, which is a lot thinner. I just use normal printer paper. I printed the pattern out on my printer and cut it out. But it seems to be sticking okay. I'm sure there's an art for getting all of these paper stencils to form a cool pattern, but we'll try this to start with. There we go. I think those are stuck down pretty well. So now I have some watered down slip here. This is the same slip I used in my underglaze video. So I got a fan brush and I'm just going to go ahead and apply slip to the whole outside of the pot, going over the paper and everything. Try and get a nice even coat. All right, there's one surround. I'll let this dry for a minute and do a few more coats. If I had more of this slip, I think I would just dunk the pot in like I did with my glaze. I'm a little bit worried I won't be able to find all the pieces of paper, but so far they're still showing through. All right, I've gone around a couple of times. My real goal is just to try and get an even coat so the black winds up being relatively uniform. All right, I think I'm done with the slips, so I'm gonna put that away. And this is dry enough to handle. It's still a bit damp. So let's see if we can fish out the pieces of paper. It's a little bit hard to see, but the slip didn't build up as much on the paper. All right, I think that's all of them. I guess we'll find out if I missed any. I dug into the clay a little bit with my tweezers, so I'm going to let this firm up a little bit. I will then smooth out the slip I applied on the top because there's a few drips, and I'll see if I can repair some of the places where I dug in. The pot is out of the bisque fire, and it looks pretty good. Off camera, I went and did a little bit of cleanup on this. I sanded it a little bit smooth and cleaned out some of the areas where the slip had run a little bit. I went ahead and glazed the inside with a clear, and let's go ahead and do the outside. All right, and there we go, all glazed inside and out. Go ahead and let this dry, and it will go into the next glaze firing. So one of the first things I notice is I put the glaze on pretty heavy. When this glaze goes on thick, it winds up getting this more opaque kind of textured look. That's obscured the design a little bit. So next time, I think I will put on the glaze a little bit lighter. However, I think the effect is still really cool. You see all these crazy textured lines inside. I suspect it would look really good in a rock clay as well, although rock clay isn't my favorite, so I'm not sure if I'll do that or not. See all the different lines, especially towards the bottom of the pot where it's a little bit thinner, they show through a little bit better. So it's a pretty cool geometric pattern. Overall, the paper stencils and the application of the slip worked really well. I'm very pleased with this process. I think we can iterate on this and make better pots in the future for sure. So in addition to changing up the glaze, I think I want to think more about the design. I basically put on these stencils randomly. So these are all horizontal, and there are some places where, because the paper was straight and the pot's curved, they wind up sloping up or down. It's pretty subtle. You might not be able to see it on camera, but like here, they start to pinch together. So I think if I designed a pattern that went around the shape of the pot, I could get even more interesting effects. And of course, because this is slip on the outside, I can do all sorts of colors. I could also do multiple layers, and that would result in a stacked effect. I've seen some other pots that do something similar, and the result is really cool. To think a little bit harder about that, I'm not too sure about the order of application of the paper stencils and the slip, but I might try that in the future as well. The other thing I liked about the paper is it stuck to the pot really well. By getting it wet, it really adhered to the greenware. My use of tape in the past was a little bit more touch and go. It didn't really want to stick as well. So that was one of the other advantages of doing the pot this way. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or other ideas on how I can use this technique. Thanks.